of NATO experts. Why? Because its fighter jets, built on resilience, innovation, and real combat experience, are quietly rewriting the rules of modern air power. Let us begin with the surprising NATO interest in Pakistan's Air Force, something that has puzzled many but makes perfect sense when examined closely. On paper, Pakistan does not stand in the same league as NATO's traditional air powers like the United States, Britain, or France. It doesn't have fleets of stealth fighters in the hundreds, nor does it enjoy the virtually limitless budgets that Western militaries spend annually on research, development, and procurement. Yet, NATO experts are turning their eyes toward Pakistan's fighter jets, especially the JF-17 Thunder, and the reasoning lies in what these jets symbolize beyond raw firepower. Pakistan has managed to take a limited pool of resources and craft an air fleet that challenges assumptions about what modern air power should look like. NATO isn't studying these aircraft because of their sheer might. They are studying them because they represent an alternative model of efficiency and effectiveness in an era where military spending is under increasing scrutiny. What draws attention is the audacity of Pakistan's approach. It has chosen to prioritize practicality over extravagance, focusing on producing aircraft that can perform multiple roles while staying affordable. This runs counter to the Western model, where each new jet program seems to spiral into a financial black hole, costing billions of dollars before even taking flight. NATO experts are intrigued by how Pakistan, with comparatively modest resources, has engineered a fleet capable of holding its ground against more expensive and technologically advanced rivals. The JF-17 is not just an aircraft, it is a case study in maximizing output from limited input. And in today's world of economic constraints, that lesson is more valuable than ever. Then comes the element of surprise that these jets deliver in combat readiness. The fact that Pakistan has consistently showcased these aircraft in real missions, drills, and even confrontations adds a layer of credibility that no amount of theoretical simulation can replace. NATO knows that an air force tested under genuine pressure provides lessons textbooks cannot. It is not about copying Pakistan's jets, but about dissecting the philosophy behind their development, a philosophy that rejects waste, embraces adaptability, and thrives on operational realism. This is why NATO, despite its immense technological superiority, finds itself studying Pakistan's Air Force closely. It is not just about what the jets can do, but about what they represent in the evolving equation of global military power. Combat-tested experience is what sets Pakistan's Air Force apart, and it is one of the most compelling reasons NATO experts are drawn towards studying its jets. Many air forces around the world can boast of advanced technology, cutting-edge avionics, and simulation-based training, but very few can point to consistent, real-world combat performance. Pakistan's jets, particularly the JF-17, have not remained hangar-bound showpieces. They have been flown in live combat situations, from border skirmishes with India to counter-terrorism operations in some of the most complex terrains in the world. NATO analysts understand that theory can only take you so far. What matters in the end is how an aircraft and the pilots flying it respond under the stress of real war conditions where stakes are high, mistakes are costly, and adaptability can determine survival. The 2019 aerial clash between Pakistan and India was a defining moment that caught the attention of the entire world. Pakistan not only scrambled its jets effectively, but demonstrated precision, discipline, and tactical awareness that forced even its rivals to reassess their assumptions. The downing of an Indian fighter jet during that confrontation was not just a regional skirmish. It became a global signal that Pakistan's air power was not to be underestimated. For NATO experts, incidents like these are valuable lessons because they provide insight into how relatively modest air forces can stand toe-to-toe with larger, technologically superior adversaries through strategy, training, and combat readiness. Combat data of this nature is priceless, especially when it comes from a nation that operates in one of the most volatile regions on the planet, facing diverse threats that range from state-level conflict to asymmetric warfare against militant groups. Pakistan's Air Force also stands out because of its ability to operate under constraints that NATO nations rarely face. Limited budgets, sanctions, and political pressures have forced Pakistan to innovate and stretch its resources to the maximum. The result is a fleet of jets that must perform reliably in real missions, rather than existing as expensive prototypes or symbols of national pride. NATO experts are not simply observing the jets themselves. They are studying how an entire doctrine of air warfare is shaped by necessity, resilience, and actual battlefield lessons. This experience makes Pakistan's Air Force a living laboratory of modern air combat, and it is this credibility that has pulled NATO's attention, showing them that practical effectiveness often trumps technological showmanship. Cost-effective innovation is at the heart of why NATO experts are fascinated by Pakistan's jets, and it explains a crucial lesson in modern warfare. In a world where advanced fighters like the F-35 or Eurofighter consume billions of dollars in development and maintenance, Pakistan's approach offers a striking contrast. The JF-17 Thunder, developed in partnership with China, was designed with affordability as a key principle. It is not the most advanced jet in the skies, but it delivers a balance of firepower, maneuverability, and technological sophistication at a fraction of the cost of Western counterparts. This reality forces NATO experts to reconsider the idea that superior air power must always come with astronomical price tags. In fact, Pakistan has demonstrated that innovation can often thrive under financial limitations, leading to practical solutions that avoid unnecessary extravagance while still getting the job done. For NATO, this is not just about studying an aircraft, it is about examining a philosophy of efficiency. The JF-17 can be produced and maintained at a cost that makes it accessible not only to Pakistan but to other nations with modest defense budgets. This makes it a competitive export product, allowing Pakistan to expand its influence globally while creating a model of affordability that rivals NATO's own defense industry. Countries in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East have looked at the JF-17 as a viable alternative to prohibitively expensive Western jets, which is why NATO's strategists cannot afford to ignore its impact. The affordability factor also allows Pakistan to keep its fleet modern and sizable without being crushed by debt, something Western militaries are increasingly concerned about as costs spiral upward. Pakistan has created a jet that can be continuously upgraded with new avionics, radar, and weapon systems without having to design an entirely new platform from scratch. This modular approach ensures that the JF-17 evolves alongside modern threats while staying economically sustainable. NATO experts see in this a possible future blueprint where affordability and technological relevance go hand in hand. For them, the lesson is clear. Air dominance is no longer about who can spend the most, but about who can achieve the most with the least. Pakistan has shown that cost-effective innovation can rival prestige projects, and this is why NATO's keen eye is fixed on its fighter program, not out of curiosity, but out of respect for what it represents in the changing face of global air power. China-Pakistan technological collaboration has become one of the defining factors in why NATO experts are paying such close attention to Pakistan's jets, because it represents more than just a bilateral defense arrangement. It showcases a new model of strategic cooperation that is reshaping global military dynamics. Pakistan, with its limited defense budget and restricted access to Western technology, found in China not only a willing partner, but also a collaborator prepared to co-develop systems rather than merely sell finished products. The JF-17 Thunder is the clearest example of this partnership, a fighter jet born from shared research, mutual investment, and combined engineering expertise. For NATO analysts, This is not just about studying a single aircraft, but about understanding how two nations with complementary needs can pool resources and challenge the dominance of Western defense manufacturers. The collaboration between China and Pakistan has yielded a jet that reflects the strengths of both countries: China's rapidly advancing technological base and Pakistan's practical combat experience. Together, they have produced a fighter that can be continuously upgraded and customized without relying on Western suppliers or approvals, which historically have been a stumbling block for many countries reliant on US or European hardware. NATO experts recognize that this collaboration represents a dangerous precedent for their dominance in the arms market. If other countries replicate this model, working with China to bypass Western dependency, NATO's leverage in defense diplomacy could significantly weaken. This is why the study of Pakistan's jets goes beyond performance. It is about decoding the dynamics of partnership that made them possible. At the same time, NATO is aware that the technological collaboration between China and Pakistan is not static, but constantly evolving. From avionics and radar systems to missile integration, every new upgrade to the JF-17 demonstrates how the partnership is maturing into something more sophisticated and less reliant on Western benchmarks. This raises concerns about how quickly non-Western alliances can now close the technological gap with NATO countries, especially when they are not burdened by the same bureaucratic and financial excesses. For NATO, observing this collaboration is essential not only to understand Pakistan's capabilities, but also to anticipate China's long-term strategy of extending its influence through defense partnerships. The JF-17 may be the most visible product of this cooperation, but what NATO experts are truly studying is the framework behind it, a framework that could reshape the future of global military alliances and introduce a new era of cost-effective, partnership-driven innovation that stands outside the traditional Western orbit. Tactical adaptability and upgrades are among the strongest features of Pakistan's jets, and this is precisely why NATO experts are paying close attention. Unlike many air forces that rely on massive budgets to purchase brand-new aircraft whenever technology shifts, Pakistan has developed a system where its jets can evolve and stay relevant through smart, continuous upgrades. The JF-17 Thunder is the centerpiece of this adaptability. It is not locked into a single configuration, but designed as a flexible platform that can incorporate new avionics, radar systems, and weaponry as the battlefield demands change. NATO experts see this as a crucial lesson, especially in an era when the pace of technological advancement in warfare is faster than ever. Having an adaptable fighter means Pakistan does not need to fall behind simply because it cannot afford to launch a new generation of jets every decade. Instead, it can keep pace through targeted innovation and modular improvements. For NATO analysts, the appeal lies in how this approach turns constraints into advantages. Where NATO countries often spend billions on long-term projects that risk becoming outdated by the time they are delivered, Pakistan's Air Force demonstrates agility by upgrading existing assets to meet emerging threats. Whether it is integrating Chinese beyond visual range missiles, modern targeting pods, or advanced electronic warfare systems, the JF-17 shows that being adaptable is often more sustainable than chasing the next cutting-edge fighter at all costs. NATO understands that adaptability does not just mean technology, it also reflects doctrine and training. Pakistan has proven that its pilots and engineers are capable of rapidly adjusting to upgrades, making the Air Force a living, evolving force rather than one tied down by rigid systems. The adaptability also has significant implications for how Pakistan sustains deterrence against technologically superior adversaries. In conflicts where opponents may field jets with more advanced hardware, Pakistan's strategy is to level the playing field by integrating smart solutions rather than trying to outspend them. NATO experts are deeply interested in this principle because it reflects a growing reality. Modern air combat is no longer about who has the most expensive jet. The ability to add new capabilities without restarting from scratch is the kind of efficiency even major powers are beginning to crave. By studying Pakistan's jets, NATO is not just analyzing aircraft performance, it is examining a philosophy of survival and competitiveness in an unpredictable world, where adaptability may prove to be the most decisive weapon of all. Geopolitical implications form one of the most critical reasons NATO experts are focusing on Pakistan's jets, because these aircraft are not just machines of war, they are tools of influence in a region that sits at the very heart of global strategic competition. Pakistan occupies a unique geographic position, bridging South Asia, Central Asia, and the Middle East, three regions where NATO's interests are deeply entangled. The presence of a capable and self-sufficient air force in Pakistan means that this country holds more leverage in shaping regional security dynamics than its economic size or political clout might suggest. NATO's attention to Pakistan's jets is therefore as much about geopolitics as it is about military technology, because every aircraft symbolizes the potential of Pakistan to assert itself in regional disputes, alliances, and global balance of power calculations. The reality is that Pakistan's jets give it the ability to project strength in a volatile neighborhood marked by rivalries, particularly with India, and by proximity to conflict zones like Afghanistan and the Gulf. A credible air force allows Pakistan to act as both a stabilizer and a disruptor, depending on how it chooses to use its capabilities, and NATO knows this cannot be ignored. The alliance also understands that Pakistan's growing air power, fueled by cost-effective innovation and Chinese collaboration, challenges the traditional dominance of Western-supplied air fleets in the region. By studying Pakistan's jets, NATO experts aim to anticipate how these dynamics may shift, especially in crises where Pakistan's decisions could influence not just regional but global security outcomes. Another dimension of the geopolitical equation is how Pakistan's jets serve as a diplomatic instrument. By offering the JF-17 for export at affordable rates, Pakistan is not only boosting its defense industry but also building strategic relationships with countries looking for alternatives to Western or Russian aircraft. This arms diplomacy allows Pakistan to extend its influence well beyond its borders, potentially creating new blocks of cooperation that lie outside NATO's sphere of control. For NATO, this represents a challenge, because every country that turns to Pakistan for jets is a country stepping away from Western defense suppliers. NATO experts are therefore not only studying the performance of Pakistan's jets, but also what they symbolize on the geopolitical chessboard: independence from Western reliance, strategic partnerships with China, and a growing ability to sway regional security outcomes. In a world where power is increasingly defined by influence rather than sheer size, Pakistan's air force has become an outsized player, and NATO's attention to it is a recognition that military hardware, when combined with strategic geography and diplomatic leverage, can alter the course of global affairs. The hidden reason NATO experts are studying Pakistan's jets is not confined to their technical performance alone. It is the story of an air force that has defied limitations, proven itself in combat, embraced cost-effective innovation, forged transformative collaborations with China, adapted relentlessly through upgrades, and leveraged its geopolitical position with strategic precision. These jets are more than machines. They are symbols of survival, sovereignty, and the ability to influence global security conversations from a position many never expected. NATO's attention is a recognition that in today's world, strength is no longer measured solely by budgets or the sheer number of aircraft, but by adaptability, combat credibility, and the capacity to reshape regional balances. Pakistan's jets embody these qualities, And that is why they stand today not just as fighters in the sky, but as a lesson to the world about the future of air power.